Hi everybody, this is Tina with Rehatch Designs. Hope everybody's doing well. It's been a minute. I had planned on having another video out last week, but I'm having uploading problems that are really bad. It's taking like 2 to 3 days to upload a video, so we're working on it. They're having problems all over the neighborhood, not just at my house, but just in general. So I think I'm going to just probably have to resort to going to other locations to upload my videos because it's just not happening here. So I'm trying to get 2 videos out a week on this channel and 2 on my other channel. And if you're not aware, I've started a new YouTube channel and I do like home decor type things on it. So I will link that in the description box if you're interested in that. But ultimately, I'm trying to do 2 videos a week. I think the last one I did here was like 8 days ago or so. So, you know, I tried. I'm trying, but it's just taken forever. But anyway, today what we're going to do is if you've watched my channel at all, you know that I love this Amazon packaging to make a cover out of a journal, and we're going to do that today. And I'm going to call it a spring journal, not really an Easter journal, but it's going to have rabbits and things like that in it because, you know, it's spring. But we're going to use this, and I don't know how far we're going to get in the process today, but we will at least get a lot of it done. So this one is the smaller one. I don't know what the size is, and I don't think I have a ruler. Let me see if I have one so I can kind of sort of tell you. So I can kind of sort of tell you. This isn't much of a ruler, but we'll try. It is about 11.5 by 9 inches. So it's really a great size to use for your journals. You can just kind of fold it in half and you've got a journal. So that's kind of what we're going to do. But I learned through trial and error, the best thing to do with this is to separate, and you know how it comes together, just like that. I go ahead and get my bone folder or something. A nail file works really good, but just separate these and try not to tear them. If you do, it's really not a big deal. We can fix it. And most of the time when I do this, I cover this with something else, like material or something like that. And we're going to go ahead and this is why a nail file, what it does is it separates the glue without ripping it. And I don't know what I did with my nail file. I was looking for it, but you can use that. And this did rip a little bit, but that's okay because we're going to put something over that. So anyway, that is what you get when you open it up. You just get one big sheet of the brown paper. And usually if it rips like that, I will just take some glue and put some glue down on it. You can use a glue stick. It doesn't really matter, because we are going to be covering this up anyway, but it just makes it structurally, you know, a little bit more sound. And there's like a little tear right here, and I just go ahead and put glue wherever. It won't matter in a little bit. So what I like to do a lot of times is I will put material or fabric or something over this and use this for my you know, like the structure of the journal. But today I want to do something a little bit different. First off, we are going to be using it this way. So we're going to be using it to where it's just going to be, I don't know, I think I brought my ruler into the other 5.5 inches on each side by a little less than 9 because we're going to trim off some of this. It'll probably be 8.5. So what I do then is I don't really trim the sides here, but this part down here obviously is a little bit too long. So I will get my trimmer out. And we're going to make this, and this is the height of our journal, we're going to make this 8.5 inches. So the part that's still stuck together, this part right here, we're not cutting that. We're cutting the open part here. This is the part where you open the package. That's why if you don't cut it perfect, like if you notice these two are two different sizes, or you know, one's longer than the other. But usually you don't need it any taller than 8.5. So we're going to do this at 8.5 and line that up, and we'll have to go several times. My blade, I need to replace it, and I just never have done it, so I need to go in there and spend the time to do that. So anyway, I do that, and then we have this, okay? So what I want to do now, this is going to be the inside of my journal. This is going to be the outside. It doesn't really matter. Either way will work. It really has no, like this has an extra piece here. We can rip that off and try not to rip it all the way through. So what I'm going to do with this is I want to kind of make this look a little bit like leather. But I am not going to just do it on this. I am going to take just some more Amazon wrapping material and get enough of it here. I'm going to tear it off. This is just the material, or you know, when you get a package, you get that in the mail, right? Sometimes they use it to, you know, pack whatever it is that you have. So what I want to do is I'm going to cut off a piece that is at least enough to cover both sides of this. So let's see. Looks like it's going to work to do it like that. So we're going to do that on both sides. And it doesn't matter if it's straight because we're going to trim it later. And so I'm going to put this aside. And what we're going to do, this is our packing material here. And we are going to go ahead and take that. And I am just going to take my mister and I'm going to mist it. Just mist it. You don't want it wet, you just want it misted. Alright, so I'm going to mist it, and then I'm going to go ahead and go like that and really squish that up. And then I'm going to take, you can take any kind of really oil that you want. I'm using vitamin E oil, and I'm just putting it in my hands. I'm just putting enough to have it all over my hands. And I'm going to take that, and I am going to do this all over my piece. Open it up and kind of redo it, and you really want to work it really well. I do it like a couple times really, and I just put some in my hands. You don't want to put it on one spot because it'll get too much all in one, concentrated in one spot. And we are going to just do that. It doesn't really take much more than what you would put like on your hands. Soften your hands while you're doing it, okay? And we're going to keep doing that until it gets nice and pliable and flexible. It has a lot of wonderful little wrinkles in it. Okay. And I do that just for a little while, and I just kind of, it's not going to tear unless you're really pulling it. And this is the thinner packing. It's not the heavy stuff. You could use both, but it's harder to do if it's really super thick. So there, I don't think it got a lot, but that's okay. It'll be all right. So then you want to kind of spread it out a little bit. And ideally what you would do is you would wait overnight until this dries. Okay. To put it on. But we're not going to be able to do that because, you know, we can't. Okay, it's not dry all the way, but it's dry enough that we can work with it. So now what we're going to do is we are just going to take this and we are going to glue this on each side. We're probably going to have to go that way because I don't know. Well, we'll see. Because we're not going to be able to probably stretch it out enough. I don't want to stretch it so much that I take all the little wrinkles out. That's kind of the point, right? So I think we're going to do this. We're not going to do the inside with this, so we have to decide what the inside is. I think I'll just do that. That'll work. That'll work right there. I'm trying to get the wrinkly part on there. And I am just going to use my glue stick because it works pretty good. And if I have to use more glue, I will. But I'm going to go ahead and go over this whole thing. Probably do half of it first. And then you're wondering, well, what do you do with the other side? Well, I will show you that in a minute. Okay. I forgot which one I was going to do, but it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to go ahead and put that on and let it be wrinkled, which is fine. Wrinkles are good. It's not like when you're decoupaging and you're trying to get the wrinkles out. A lot of times though, I really don't try and do that. So anyway, I'm going to keep going and get enough glue down to where I can get all of this down. And I may have to go over the sides, but I don't think so because we're going to be sewing. And you do not have to sew, you can glue. Maybe we'll just glue so you don't think we have to sew. I don't want people thinking that you have to sew things because you really don't. Most everything that I do, you definitely don't have to sew it. So, alright, I'm just going to push that down and let it get in there good. Let it stay glued. So that is that. And then all we're going to do is we're going to trim around it. And just we're using this as our thing to trim it. Anyway, that is how you start it, and I usually leave these side pockets open just so that you can put a journaling card in there. And let me get my other glue out. I take a little bit stronger glue to do that, and so we're putting these two sides together, and I just do that right on the edge all the way down. And I'm just using my art glitter glue. You could use any white glue that you have. All right. So, now that we have done that, and the reason it looks really wet is that the oil will take longer to dry. So that's why normally you would just kind of leave that piece for overnight. And if you wanted to, you could do the inside as well. But we're just going to do the outside for today. So now that we've done that, what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and distress this to give it even more of a leather look. This is already going to be kind of that way, but what you want to do is, I use my distress ink. I'll use 2 colors, and I also like to use a little bit of my permanent ink. Let's see, where did it go? My brown permanent ink. And I have a vintage photo and ground espresso, and here I have vintage photo, just my other ink, and then my walnut stain. I like to have some permanent ink on there that isn't going to mix. So I just take my ink pad, this is my permanent archival ink, vintage photo, and I'm going over it, and it's going to catch in all of the little wrinkles. And I'm not going to do a ton with this because this isn't going to change really. So I just go over it and make sure I catch them. I'm not pressing really hard. Okay. And then I have ground espresso. You can use whatever you have. And I'm going to do that a little bit. I'm not going to do as much of that, but I am going to take this and go around the edges with it. Because this is a permanent ink. It's not going to go away. We're going to give it time to dry before we do the next step, but I'm just going over the edges. And you use whatever colors that you want as far as how dark you want this to be. So those are my permanent inks. And now I'm going to take my vintage photo, my distress ink, and this is a water-based, not permanent, but you know, we're going to make it permanent when it's done. But right now we actually need this to spread around. So that is going to go on. And then we're going to take a little bit of this walnut distress ink stain and put a little bit of that on, because the two of those are going to mix together. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to take my mister again, and I'm going to go over this because the distress ink is going to move around a little bit, and I'm going to just take, you can take a dauber, you can take whatever, and I'm just going to kind of go in a circular motion all around, and that is going to spread that ink all over the place. And try not to do too much over here so that it loosens up the glue too much, but you're just trying to spread the ink all around. I may have to come in with some more glue in a couple spots. I can feel it. But you just want to get that going all the way around and just kind of spread it. Don't overwork your paper because you don't want a hole in it. But you do want to get that ink spread all. You'll be able to see where it is and where it's not. Okay. Now all you're really going to do is you're going to dry that spot right there. I'm just going through and making sure I got it all down. Now if you sew this, then you really don't have to worry about it so much. And I probably will go back and sew around it, but I'm just telling you don't have to do that. And then what I would do is I would take my, this is really too thick. I've got to get this a little bit thinner. Put a little water in there. Let's do that. And get that a little thinner. It's just a little bit too thick. I like this gel medium, and I like using gel medium, but you can definitely just use Mod Podge or Mod Podge. Even the matte to me always ends up being a little bit shiny, and I like this because it doesn't. And I'm trying to, I don't want shiny. I will want shiny later, but not right away. So I'm going to take this and go over all of it. and that's going to make it feel even more leathery. So in case you haven't figured it out yet, this is going to be kind of a grungy-ish looking cover. It's interesting. It's going to be kind of grungy, but yet feminine at the same time. So it's going to be different. It's going to be flowery and grungy all at the same time. Now this is the part where if you want to, you can do the other side so it matches. And so what this is going to do is it's kind of get it to lay flat, and it'll kind of give it a different texture, kind of a leathery texture to it. Now your glue will do that too, and so will Mod Podge. This just happens to dry a little bit, I think a little bit flatter, as far, you know, matte, more of a matte finish. There's not much shine to it. And what I've noticed about Mod Podge is it tends to have a lot of shine to it. So I'm not gonna knock Mod Podge. I'm just saying it's just a different texture when you get done. So we're gonna let that dry. And ideally you would just let that set and dry overnight. You wouldn't, you know, use your heat gun or anything. But that's okay. We're going to do it this way, and then we're going to move on to the next step. Okay, this is not dry all the way, but you still have some in the little indentations, but that's okay. We're going to move on to the next step. Now I have something called Stains by Patty Pockets that I'm going to put on top, or you can use, this is clear glue. You know, like when you buy Elmer's glue, they sell it, the clear, right next to it for the same price. Or you can go to the dollar store and they sell the clear glue. It's clear glue mixed with some vintage photo. So you can do that, or you can do this. They both work about the same, to be honest with you guys. So I am going to go ahead and use this because it's a little bit lighter in color, but that's the only reason. And I'm going to use this same brush, and I'm going to go over this because I want this to dry. And it's going to take a little bit. So, and what this is going to do, this is going to kind of give it a little bit of a shine. Not a lot, but a little bit. And it will really make it look leathery. And so will the clear glue. Now you could use regular white glue, but the clear works better in my opinion. It makes it more like a stain. So it doesn't really change the color or make it cloudy or anything. And it adds this kind of, I don't know, interesting finish to it. So if you go and get some clear glue, and you can actually make it any color you want. If you have other distressed ink colors that you want to make it, you can make it that. The only reason I'm not using it right now is that I made that really, really dark. And I don't want this quite that dark. So you can see wherever I put the permanent ink, it's not really kind of smishing together, but it's staying on those ridges. Now if you don't want something that distressed, and you don't use the permanent ink, you would just use your distress ink, and then it'll all kind of smush together and you won't have all the little lines and things. But I want that because I'm looking for something to end up looking very, very old and very distressed. And here's the thing, you can do the other side and do it exactly the same, and I may go back and do that. I'm not 100% positive. I'm thinking I may use material or maybe part of the kit or something like that. But all you would do is just repeat the entire process. So I'm not going to do that for you, because then that way, you know, it's the same thing. So anyway, you're going to just do that and get it all in there. And after you get it, oh, I've got a spot right there I kind of missed. Just kind of get it to where it's, you know, all over. If you miss a few spots, it's not a big deal because you're not going to be able to tell when you're done. And basically, I let mine just dry overnight. That way it's nice and, you know, hard and workable and you can use it. But, you know, it's up to you if you've got the time or not. You can definitely dry it with your heat gun, and that's what I'm going to do. So I will be right back. Okay, so this is pretty much how it's going to look when it's done. And then what you do after that is really just decoration. But if you want a faux leather look, that's definitely, it's still wet in a few spots, but it will dry. I'm trimming this to where it is the right size. And what I'm going to do is, I have my stencils out here, and I'm going to take a stencil or two. Let's see. I don't know which one. I think probably just this little rose would work. I think. Or maybe that one. Let's see here. We'll just put, no, actually, you know what? I think I'll just do this. I'll just do this one. This is Tim Holtz, and it doesn't really say what number it is or which one it is. Oh yeah, it is. It's down here. THSO32. That is the stencil. So I am going to take that, and I have some Deco Art medium crackle paint. And I'm going to take that, and I am just going to put this, I don't want to get that much all over my hands, that would be good, in different spots all over this. I'm going to put something in the middle here, so I'm not too concerned about that. And this is just a crackle medium, but it's white. It's not clear, so it'll go on and it'll crackle. So I'm going to kind of put that on the edges here, and I'm not doing it perfectly. I want it to not be, you know, perfect. I want it to just be on there as an added bonus. And I'm going to put some, I don't want it to look exactly the same, so I'm probably going to go like this over here. And this is really just to add some more texture. It doesn't really matter if it's a perfect image, because we're gonna, you know, we're gonna actually be covering a lot of this up. Now that kind of smeared a little bit. Oh well, that's okay. We're gonna leave it. And then we're gonna do, oh, I don't want, that's kind of wet there. So let's go here. I think I'm doing this stuff is a little bit wetter than it needs to be. It's just a texture paste, but it's a little loose. So there we go. That one's kind of messed up too. Well, we'll see. We shall see how it turns out. I don't know why it's, maybe I put water in it last time and I don't remember. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a little in the middle. And it's not going to really matter because once this dries, it's just going to crackle and we're going to go over it with something else. But we're going to do that, and I'm going to let that crackle on its own. Even though it's kind of messed up in a few spots, but that's okay. It'll be all right. It'll end up looking good. Promise. And make sure you wash off your stencil right away, because trust me, I've done that. I've gone through more stencils. So I'm going to let that dry. So now that I've got all this crackle on here, I'm going to put that same stain over it, and it's going to darken it up, and it's going to also make it kind of blend in a little bit with what we already have done. But it's just going to add another layer. You could totally skip that if you don't want to do that. So I'm putting that on there. So it's really going to show the cracks then and be part of this. Of course, you can just leave it the leather. You don't have to do anything else. And then I'm just doing that, going over anywhere that was white. So we're going to do that. Of course, we want that to dry. Get it all in there really good. Just make sure it gets part of the whole thing. So anyway, that was not dry all the way, so I'm going to have to wipe that off a little bit. Yeah. I don't know why that one wasn't dry. Interesting. All right. So I'm going to let that set and dry a little bit. It's not going to take that long, but I do want to move on to the very next step. Do I want to use that and use a smaller bunny? Or do I want to use this and use that bunny? I really love this bunny. So I'm going to take my Versamark and I'm going to go all over my frame. And this is just what you use when you're going to use embossing powder, which is this right here. So I'm going to go over all of that. Boy, this one doesn't seem very juicy. I know I had one that didn't work real well, so this might be it. So I'm going to go ahead and do my dabber, which is still embossing stuff. I'm going to go all over this frame, and this is a Tim Holtz frame, and you can still get them online. Let me get a piece of paper so that I can do this. Let's see here. I think this will work. I'm going to need a white piece of paper anyway. So let's see here. Let's put that on here, and we're going to go ahead and put our embossing powder. And this is Ranger Embossing Powder Gold. You could use any color you wanted. And this is just going to jazz up our frame a little bit. Alright, so that's on there pretty good. I'll go ahead and take this and put it up. So now I'm just going to go ahead and emboss that. Put the cover on this. I've learned my lesson. I had embossing powder flying all over the place. kind of amazing how good that looks with just that little bit of adding something to it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, if I can find it, and get my, this is my antique gold rub and buff, and I'm going to just take a little bit of rub and buff because it's a little bit different color. You can't see much of it, but I'm going to put it in just a few little spots here and there. Of course, you could put other colors on there as well, and I may do that. I don't know. But I just do it to give it a little bit more dimension. And I don't know if I have it. I don't think I have another color that I want to use right now, but I will do that. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to cut out, I'll just use this piece here, a piece of paper that I can put behind here. Let's just use this. We're going to have to make it smaller, but this will get us our basic shape, because we're going to decoupage that rabbit on here, so we want it smaller, but not so small. And we need a white background, and we need something probably stronger than just paper. Well, it's still a little bit too big. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. That should do it, probably. Yep. Okay, so I'm cut out a piece of paper so that I could put this rabbit on here. So now I have to decide where I'm gonna, which part of the rabbit and where I'm gonna put it. So I'm gonna put him here. Let's see how that looks. Looks pretty good, except I really would like to have the butterfly in there, but I'm going to have to, I don't know if we're going to have room for that. I don't want to cut off his ears, so we would have to come back that way. And the only way to do the butterfly is I'd have to cut it out separately. I'm going to go ahead and just put that down on my white cardstock, because that's what we're going to adhere it to. And that's so that it shows up. If I put it on the brown, you would not really be able to see it. So, and I'm going to go ahead and just kind of cut this because it's too big to deal with right now. I'm going to try not to cut this little bunny over here because I can use him on another project, even though I have a lot of these napkins. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put him, I guess, over here. I don't know, we'll have to see if hopefully I put that in the right spot. I'm going to go over this again in a minute, but I think that's about right. Yeah, I think so. We'll have to cut a little bit on the bottom here and on this side, but I think that's going to work. Maybe, well, maybe not. Maybe we need to move him over a tiny bit. So we just have to cut him on the bottom. So let's do that. Cut that, and then we'll cut this on the bottom a little bit. And that should be about right. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and go over this again. I don't know if it's on there great, and it's a little bit too thick. And I'm going to go ahead and go over it with my gel medium. Okay. So now I'm going to let that dry. That's perfect. I want this to be a little bit more distressed to kind of go with this. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take my Distress ink, walnut stain, and my vintage photo, and I'm going to use both of those. Get my little daubers out. So I have my vintage photo, and I'm going to go ahead and take it, and I am going to go over this a little bit, and it's just going to make it look a little bit darker. Not a ton, just a little bit, and give it a more distressed look. And just kind of go, this might be pretty empty, so I might have to refill it just to get that on there. I'm going to go ahead and go with my thing here and get it a little bit more on the edges, just so it has a more distressed look and kind of matches the rest of this. Kind of a little bit go like that. Looks like I need to re-ink all these. And I could have done the inside of it if I'd have thought about it, but I didn't. So that gives us just a little bit more of a look that matches the rest of this whole thing. So I like that a lot better. And I am going to put that here, but I also am wanting to put a little bit of lace or trim on here. So this is like my scrap stuff that I have. So I'm kind of looking around and seeing. I might put something up there I think would be pretty. Let's see if this is big enough for here. It could be. Could put it on the bottom. Let's see if I have anything to put on the side. Just really, you know, just going through some scrap pieces here. It doesn't have to be a lot. Let's see, maybe this piece would look good on the side. I usually like to put something like right here, because then I have this tucked in, you know, to tuck in. Oh, it's too small. Oh, that might look pretty on the bottom. I kind of just go through and decide where I'm going to put everything before I, you know, glue everything down. I might put that there, but I would really like something a different color. So maybe that would be pretty. These are all very vintage old laces. So, and I would put that underneath right here. These are just pieces of things. They're not like whole, but usually that's all it takes. So button or something there with it, I think would look good. So I'm going to go ahead and start gluing all this down. I think I want to put, before I do all that, I want to put a stain over this, but I don't know if I want to do the patty pockets because I think it might be too dark. So I think what I'm going to do, I have a clear coat by Dixie Belle, and I'm going to take that, and I am going to just take that and go over this because I want it to have a little bit of a patina, but not too much. So I'm going to take a tiny bit of this patty pocket, so I'm going to put it in here. I don't want a whole bunch. And then I'm going to take a tiny bit of this, and I'm going to mix the two together so that it's a lot lighter. Yeah, that's about right. So this is just going to give it a little bit of a stain. It's going to pick up those wrinkles and things like that. And I'm going to go over it with that. so it won't be quite as dark as the other stain. And I think while I'm at it, I'll go ahead and go over the frame with that, since that was kind of a, you know, it's not permanent ink. And then that will give it a little bit of a patina so it looks old, and it'll go in all those little cracks. So that'll be good there. I'm going to go ahead and close it. I don't think it's going to make any difference. There's barely any left in there. And I like how that is going to look. That's just perfect. Just the right amount of patina. And then we're going to go ahead and start gluing this down. Okay, so that is what we're going to do. It's not 100% dry, but we're going to go ahead and do this because, you know, we only have a limited amount of time. And this, my glue is all kind of messed up, so I don't know what I'm going to do, if I'm going to do anything. Get my little pin out, see if I can fix that. So, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to put a bunch of glue around the edges because we're going to be gluing this whole thing down. Put a lot of glue on this side because we're going to be putting that lace down. Maybe a little bit more down here because we're putting that lace down. Alright, so now let me get my little thing so I can spread it out a little bit. And I'm just going to get enough glue on there to get all this down. So let's put this here because we want to put that in the right spot, about right here. I want it hanging down on the bottom a little bit. I always like that look. That's just kind of a thing. That's why I was saying it doesn't matter that this part that we did was perfect, because we were not going to be able to see that. And this is going to go over here. There's a right way and a wrong way on this, so I kind of want to put this up higher, but not quite at the top. Okay, I should have put that down first, but that's okay. We have time. Move that up a little bit. And this is a little bit wrinkled, so I'm going to spray some water on that and kind of get it to not be as wrinkled. That usually works. We shall see. If it doesn't, I'll actually iron it. And then we have to put this piece on. And I do need to find a button. And that shouldn't be too hard. I have tons. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that on. And this is really just a really quickie version of however you want to do this. You could obviously spend more time, but I am just trying to get this to where it looks okay. So let me get a button. Alright, so here is a button. I'll just grab one. I'm not going to get real picky about it, but and then put that on there. Alright, and you know, actually I want to put a little bit of eyelash trim in there with it, so I'll do that. I have a tiny bit right here. Pick that up and put a little bit of eyelash trim under there. Give it a little bit shabbier look. To me, eyelash trim always makes things look shabby. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and just kind of smush that in the middle. That might be a little bit too much, but we will see. Put our button right there. Yeah, a little bit too much. We will have to cut it a little bit. Definitely. All right. So pretty much in a nutshell, guys, that's going to be it. I will probably add more trim to the next piece right here. I'm going to do the inside. I may do the inside like this. I don't know yet. But for the most part, that's how you do it. It's not super complicated. It gives it a very leathery old look, like it's been around for a while. I will probably sew these edges down here just to, I don't know, just because I can, but you definitely do not have to. But you can certainly make a leathery looking journal without a lot of work. I mean, this didn't really take very much time. You could do it in half the time if you weren't explaining it to somebody. So, and just get your scrap pieces of lace and trim and your buttons and have fun with that. And then if you wanted to, you could have put, and matter of fact, I might do that. It's not dry yet. So you could put your, you know, your tie around here underneath. So that would work, and then you wouldn't have to put it over your picture. So that's something to think about. I have to figure out where it's going to go, like that. So that would go. Let me see. You're just going to put it under here, and then I'm lifting this up, but you would do it before normally that you glue all this stuff down. But it's not dry, so we could definitely put it in there. Not a big deal. Make sure we get that to where it's somewhat even. That's pretty good. Okay, and I'm going to put this somewhat in the middle. Okay. So what'll happen is that'll just dry underneath there. And you could put a little bit more glue right there where it is, where your tie is, but I think for the most part it probably has enough. I put quite a bit of glue on this. Put a little bit more in there just to hold it down, and that will all dry, and you will have this wonderful little cover. You can tie it over here. You could put this through there if you wanted to, or tie it right here. And this is just seam binding that I had dyed a while back. So that's it, guys. That is it, and it is super easy. I don't think it was complicated. So we have this cute little cover that you can use for your Easter or spring, or I'm not really going to call it an Easter journal, but we'll just, you know, we'll have some rabbit pictures in it. So anyway, that's it, guys. That is pretty much the whole shebang. So I don't know. Let's see, next time I do a video, it may be a flip through. I'm not sure. We may do the pages on this, but we shall see. I don't know. I don't know yet. I haven't really planned it. So I will see you guys again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.